Here in this podcast series, we are diving into what's on the minds of business owners in and around the construction space to see what they're dealing with these days, day to day. Today, we're talking about what small business owners are up to beyond just selling the product. To help me out, I have Jack Aspenson. Say hi.
Hi.
Nailed it. Jack is the CEO of a few things. Do you want to introduce yourself and a little bit about your background?
Sure. My name is Jack Aspenson. I am the CEO of S3 Surface Solutions. I'm also the founder of OTB Materials and another startup that I'm not mentioning today because it's not in the construction space. But my background is entrepreneurship. I've had my first business when I was 18 years old and had three before I was 27. Then joined corporate world for a few years and decided to jump back into being an entrepreneur when I was 50.
Oh, are you there? I think you froze for a minute.
Engineering, just because space shuttle tiles were so popular back then. But I have always been a lifelong learner and trying to make sure that when I do address a problem, a business, I want to fix a problem. And that's been the mantra for all my partners and I throughout the years.
Good way to look at it. It's a good way to look at it, and a good way to start a business, right?
Yeah.
Fill the hole no one else
has
filled. Yeah, fill the niche no one's filled yet, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
And improve upon other products that don't, and we'll go into that a little later, I'm sure.
Exactly. Speaking of, do you want to speak a little bit about the business?
Sure. S3 Surface Solutions, actually, interestingly enough, it started off as just an epoxy company. We were focused on moisture mitigation systems, grout systems. As a matter of fact, one of our first jobs that was sold by a partner of ours was Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. We did, if anybody ever gets a chance to go there, it's the 100-yard club, which looks like a football field. We actually replicated the field down below on the third level of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So even the flake matches the color of the grass down there. And it perfectly aligns too. The 50-yard line is the 50-yard line on the field.
What?
So we did some creative stuff. And then we had developed, my partner's dad had developed a moisture mitigation system years ago. Literally, we're now at 30 years ago, and it's obviously been moved forward. But we started addressing moisture problems in the flooring industry, and it has ballooned since then to being adhesives, contaminant isolation, pre-construction or at time of pour of the concrete. And then we saw a really big need for a unique product that we developed that I can go into later. That is a cementitious product. And that one actually led us into, we acquired another partner scientist, and literally over beers sitting one night at a pub while we were traveling, we came up with a new business idea and said, well, if we're doing all this to fix the concrete in new construction, why don't we just fix the concrete? And so OTB Materials was born. I don't run that. I'm a founder of it. I focus on S3 and my other business more now, but we have some good people running that, and it's starting to do exceptionally well, considering it's the second most purchased product in the world, but the largest contributor of CO2 to the world. That's kind of, again, fixing a problem.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one. I'm sure you know it's something that sustainability being what it is now, and it's a hot topic for good reason.
Yep.
Everyone's looking for the right way to solve that problem. So thank you for helping out, for helping the entire industry get there.
We're actually going to, it's interesting in our discussion today. I think we'll go through about 4 or 5 different points on how we address that.
Yeah. And speaking of, why don't we jump into the topic at hand, right?
Sure.
So as we talk about, what business owners are up to besides just selling products in general, one of the points is just kind of finding a niche, right? Finding the specific place to kind of grow and expand. Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Again, let's just start with back 10 years ago when I started S3. We were dealing with 20% of all flooring installations, roughly, it varies by year, have a moisture problem. And what's that in new construction that's contributed to environmental elements, specifying the wrong product as you pour the concrete to cure and seal it. There's a lot of different challenges there. And what the flooring companies were looking for at the time was something that there was a lot of different products out there, but they were extremely expensive to just stop the moisture from affecting the flooring. That's where we started, but then we found out really quickly that the larger competitors in the industry weren't that interested in fixing problems, but more along the lines of, hey, I can get you past 10 years or 7 years or 5 years, and then we need to redo this. But a lot of the solutions that they had actually contributed to further problems, like a situation called ASR, which is alkali silica reaction. And so we started to address that through partnering with a company out of Canada that made some really unique products that were never used in the flooring industry, and then helping them continually develop their products and becoming a distributor for them. Another interesting thing that we found along the way, and this is what I really want small business owners to do, pay attention to what's on the periphery of your business, because a lot of times one idea can change a little bit of the direction of the business, but it can also double the profitability and give you more marketability. We found that grinding in a lot of states was generating microdust that was hazardous to the health of the employee or the laborer in this case. And so we came up to etch the concrete, clean the concrete, pull contaminants out, which grinding can't do. It just grinds. It doesn't pull contaminants out. And then 3 years later, we were watching on a job laborers scraping glue off the floor and said, there's a better way to do this. And 4 years ago, we launched Unglued, which is literally a topical solution. You put it onto the glue and it literally makes the glue release. So I'm not turning it into a liquid like solvents, which are dangerous to laborers. Mm-hmm. So in that niche, like I said, we talked about it earlier, you got to look at the sustainability side of it, the safety side of it, and then start working backwards into how do you fix a problem.
Yeah. Speaking of fixing problems, it sounds like that's what kind of all of this is, right?
Everything.
It's within a niche, but it's just, as you go along, it's like, okay, this is a problem. Let's figure out how to fix it. This other thing is a problem. You want to talk more about that as well?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's interesting. We're actually releasing a product this month. We'll go into production in about 60 days. So when you fix a floor with moisture, you have to prep it. Then you have to put some form of a coating on it or sealant on it that stops the moisture from coming up. And then a lot of times, believe it or not, I know this is a shocker for anybody in the construction industry, but those floors aren't always flat. So they have to
Surprise.
Is it shock? They have to come in and they have to level the floors to get a nice even, especially in anything like pharmaceutical or medical. All those have to be, it's called floor flatness, as level as they can be. So we were again sitting around a table talking, and I said, why can't we just make a self-leveling that is also a moisture mitigation system that doesn't require a lot of prep? It doesn't change their tools. It speeds up the process, and it's a lifelong installation. I said the key to that is it's going to have to be same tools, so you're not re-educating the world, and it has to have something that is stronger than the actual concrete that it's going on. And so this product we're releasing called Barrier SL, it actually, we were blown away because not only does it fit building inside, but it also fixes building outside. And so we're partnering in the sports courts and with a couple partners right now and in the arena space to make level playing fields. Because it's not affected by moisture at all. Moisture can't pass through it or either top or down, up from the bottom. Chemically bonds to asphalt, concrete, and itself.
So you can use it outside.
Concrete can't bond to itself.
Right.
So we can do, and nothing bonds to asphalt but our product.
Yeah. And as it's funny, as you're thinking about and kind of developing these new products, you're keeping in mind who's using them, right? Absolutely. So the contractors and the subs that are doing this like to do things their way. They don't really like to change a lot. And so you're thinking of this as you go along, right? So that's
an
a piece
understatement, by the way.
That's a piece of all this. Fixing a problem is also understanding that is part of the problem, right? Maybe not problem, but part of the process.
You can't expect somebody to, like, you hand them a new product and go, oh, by the way, everything you knew before it doesn't apply. You're not going to get a lot of buy-in.
Right.
And if you change their tools where there's a significant investment on their side, it's never going to happen.
That's fair. Yep, that's true. So another thing I wanted to talk about is where you get some of these materials from, or where are you getting the materials from? Obviously, for lots of reasons. Sourcing outside of the country has its issues. So sourcing domestically these days is easier. Are you seeing that doing that for all the experimentation and the new products that you're developing? Are you sourcing that locally, domestically? Where are those materials coming from?
So it's actually started around COVID time. If you remember all the ships sitting out at LA
Oh yeah,
port, New York port, and everybody sitting out there.
oh,
So I had raw materials stuck on a bunch of those ships that took almost 5 months to get in.
I
Yeah.
remember those days. I
And
remember.
my background is actually my third business that I had was a trucking company. So
Hmm.
I'm looking at this going, and I ship stuff all over the world for the military.
Yeah.
I was a little peeved at and then when I found out why, I was more shocked that we just didn't have warehouse space.
Yeah.
Uh, so you had a warehouse boom for 3 years there. They were
Hmm.
throwing up warehouses all over the place. And so we actually at that time did not have the cementitious products, but had our epoxies. Everything was epoxy wise was made in China, Indonesia, or Vietnam or South Korea. And so we were like, we've got to find a way to bring this in
Hmm.
domestically so that we can control our production and our forecast capabilities. And so we started literally 6 months after the lockdown started. We started researching where can we bring this in and started developing new formulations that now we're about 85% of our raw ingredients for across the entire product line for S3 and for OTB, it's 100% domestic and 90% recycled material. Even in my cementitious at S3, we're 65% recycled material created in the United States. And the rest of it is mix and match pretty predominantly from the Rockies East. So I can control my
Oh wow.
production. The other critical component about domestic sourcing too, and when I say domestic, sometimes Canada is an interesting supplier, but with current tariff issues, you got to kind of watch where you're buying stuff. Not a hard thing to do because generally they have a manufacturing partner in the United States or an office in the United States. So you just
Sure.
got to become part of their pipeline. The key component in sourcing that domestically is also the reduction of transportation. Again, my background, if anybody's familiar with this, and I unfortunately I'm almost intimately familiar with it now with OTB materials, is EPDs, environmental product declarations. You in the construction industry, we're all
Oh
going to
yeah.
end up with some form of it. We keep all of our domestic travel down to as little trucking as we can.
That's
So
good.
in the Portland industry, they build a plant and within 200-300 miles is where all their customers are.
Mhm.
In our industry, all of our raw materials in the Midwest, so we rail it, which doesn't count in an EPD, which is funny, but we create terminals and limit the trucking time. And it also gives us a more continuous supply at a low cost. So paying attention to the transportation side of it
Hmm.
can save you 10 to 15 points easy on your margin.
I believe it. As you were looking to source domestically, were you able to, I guess, spur any kind of new companies to open up or kind of start up to help you?
That's kind of interesting. Yes, we helped influence a company coming over here to create their product here. That was during COVID. We had other companies that had something similar create something for us. We had different companies that were located in Canada come down to the United States because the volume, capabilities, and that ingredients used widely. And
Sure.
I think they were just trying to minimize their brick and mortar, but they were able to actually do it through a better channel of distribution, which is kind of a if we roll into the other topic, it's utilizing other people's resources is
That's
critical, especially small business. I have through the years of S3 and OTB, we've kind of fluctuated with employees based on revenue and demand,
hmm
but we've also looked at how do we run this more efficiently with less people at higher pay, if that helps explain
yeah.
it to a lot of people. So for instance, S3 has been as high as 13 employees, 10 million in revenue to as low as 3 employees at 6 million in revenue.
Wow.
So if you look
Okay.
at 2 million per employee revenue, that's a little above the industry average.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's a critical component that I'm going through now is with one of the businesses is how do I create a distribution network without creating the huge sales channel to support it? And there's been some different methodologies that I've looked at, but I can actually scale my business without having to have an investment in capital or in infrastructure or in equipment. Because there's so many businesses out there right now that are sized like I am, but they have more employees. They do exactly what I do, but they do it for a lot of different companies. Why would I focus on blending and mixing myself when I can utilize their resources and their distribution capability?
Yeah, makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense. So beyond utilizing other companies' resources, what kind of technologies are you using to kind of keep your team lean, and still kind of do as much business as you do?
Right now, we're using a lot of AI attached to Teams and or Google Drive. We do right now, matter of fact, all three of my employees are in different states.
Wow.
Even
Okay.
though we have a brick and mortar building, we have one person that runs that, and I go there 3 days a week. I live in a mountain community about 47 miles from my office, and we utilize the other resources around the United States to help market and promote our business.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's if I didn't have the ability to scale, because when I sell a product, let's just say a glue, it's usually bought in pallets. It weighs 1,600 pounds. So if I don't have to move that twice to get it to a customer,
True.
saves on CO2, transportation costs, increases margin.
That's smart.
That's
That's
the only
smart.
way a small business is going to compete with the billion-dollar competitors.
Just be efficient.
Be efficient. Yep.
Awesome.
But
Awesome.
we utilize AI a lot in forecasting and forecast planning because when you have 13 products and they all sell at different levels during different times of the year. We did track a lot of our sales, and it's funny how some may go up, then the next one goes up, and the other one goes down. I think that's going to change with our new business model because we're going more direct than we are through the larger players.
Sure.
And but the whole construction industry right now is down a little bit. So infrastructure is not down, but
Right.
and
Some other,
and
yeah, some other parts are.
home building and commercial building they're a little down right now. Barrier SL and our tech cement with OTB materials, those two products are perfectly aligned with data centers
Right.
and healthcare. So
Okay.
those are two that are not slowing down.
Right. Well, your product is it's used in every industry, right? So
Every
it's
industry,
it's
yeah.
not going anywhere.
No, and that's a good point. And I meant to bring this up earlier, is find something that's not dependent on, you need your product line to not be just dependent on a certain industry or a certain application. It needs to be able to do multi-function. So for instance, on my 4151 line, it's just an adhesive. But it's UL Green Guard Gold. It's the only one in the industry that I know of, and it does every backing that we've never had a piece of flooring handed to us other than wood that we couldn't hold to the floor. Sheet vinyl, LVT, HPC, carpet tile, broadloom. We could do it all with one glue, which is really nice for a contractor because he's carrying one bucket onto a
Yeah.
job, not five. And then, yes, the Barrier SL because it can do a moisture mitigation system. It can be a self-leveling. It can also be at a half-inch pour, a polished concrete overlay. Imagine going into some of your grocery stores and you see where they've ripped up all the vinyl from the floor and you see all the
Mm-hmm.
squares that are on the
Yep.
concrete.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Surface Prep could take those off, one of my products, and then I can apply my self-leveling and they can polish it
Float it right on top.
and
Yeah.
it looks just like it was supposed to be there.
That's
So,
awesome.
and Tech Cement we've done everything from 3D printing houses to precast sanitary systems to pouring a slab for a runway.
Wow. You've got the products that kind of, well, as we've kind of gone down the list, right? You
Yep.
find a niche, you fix a problem, and do what you can to source domestically, and then use other people's resources where you can to stay efficient, right?
Yep. Well, everybody's got it's a community. That's
Right.
a nice way to put it. It's a community of small businesses that are trying to compete against the big guys. One of the things that I thought for a long time was, oh, stay local, stay regional within a few states.
Yeah.
At some point, your product's going to get out past that region and you're going to have to supply it. Now, how do you supply it? You don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
caught where you can't scale.
Right.
You have to use other people's resources. And you know what? In the long term, I've created great friendships through this. And it's also been an educational process for them. And they've now diversified their line.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So
All right.
the community is the best way to put that.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Jack.
Welcome,
This
Eric.
has been a great talk. Um, this is kind of it. I'll figure out a way to kind of wrap it up and put an
Sure.
ending, put a bow on this. But you did great. This is wonderful. So I'm
I've
gonna
done about 8 of the time here.
okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
just you know where to find me.
I know where to find you.
All right, Jack.
All right.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thanks again for the time.
Yep. Take care.
All right.